impressive here.
So welcome, Ashley.
Hello.
It's so nice to see you in person, and we're thrilled that we're able to do this, to be able to connect with people. So welcome very much. While you're here, maybe Ann's told you you can remove your mask as long as you stay 6 feet away from another person, but you're next to Ann, you can't do it now. Yeah, so,
Okay.
and, but it would be much easier, much more comfortable talking, I'm sure, if you don't have to have it on, so. I think we are officially on, so, and it is 2:45, have a seat.
Okay, perfect.
And
Thank you.
Ann, are you staying, or,
No, because we'll
Okay.
the wrong number for that. I'll be online.
okey-doke?
I'll see you a little later.
All right, make yourself comfortable, Ashley.
Wow.
Oh, I'm sure. The masks are annoying, to say the least, but we're all.
Gets a little warm during the summer, especially on days like today.
I've noticed that
True.
myself, yes, they're more annoying than ever. So,
I don't know what it's like outside right now. It's gonna be hot.
It's humid.
so, yes, so really, again, I am so happy to be able to have the opportunity to have you be here in front of the whole board. And the board felt strongly about this, and so, just to brag a little bit about how wonderful Littleton is, our select board and our administrators have, graciously agreed, and the select board had to make some changes in their previous ruling even for this to happen. So we're very grateful and appreciative of that. So, and I'm going to ask the board members, this is Ashley Shaheen, you already figured that out, I think, board members. Ashley knows 3 of us because we have been working with Nina and Joe and, on the search committee, but she needs to have reintroductions, just so she knows who everybody is, so. Go, take it away, David.
Oh, my name is David Sill. I'm one of the board members. So welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ann Lee Ellis, and I'm one of the board members.
Hi, I'm Susan Melander. You saw me with a different background.
She had the most attractive background of all of us, I must say, every time. we
People
were
are
Zooming.
getting very creative with their backgrounds as the time progresses.
And I'm Marge, and I had a simple plain background. But
And I'll confuse you, I'm Patty,
not Mary.
but I'm Mary.
Yes.
was-
She was Mary in
Mary
all of our
Patty.
meetings.
But you can call me whatever you want.
She was.
I'm Anita Harding, board member.
Joe Layton, Assistant Town Administrator. Nice to see you again.
And you know Nina? Sorry?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, David.
Maureen.
And Maureen, I'm so sorry. We have one additional board member who is not present today, but she's participating by Zoom.
Oh.
And you can, she waved to you. Her name is, there she is, Maureen.
Hi, Maureen.
So, yes. And thank you, Maureen. So, we have a series of a few questions to ask you, and then not that many. We know you've been through lengthier, longer list of questions in the process to get here, so I am, speaking for myself, so glad that you are here.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
And why don't, I'll kick it off and ask you the first question, and feel free, we will have time, I hope, at the end, if you have more questions of us, of the board, so.
Okay.
All right, feel free, relax. We're not high-pressured people at all. We enjoy a good time, so.
All right. I'll try to have a good time.
Okay. No pressure at all. So, congratulations. Here you are before the COA board, who will recommend to the town administrator the candidate we feel will best serve the department. If you were chosen, what are your personal expectations for the first 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year?
Well, before March, I think I would answer this question very differently, but considering the pandemic and the stay-at-home order, I think senior centers are beginning to plan and think ahead to reopening and what the reopening would potentially look like in terms of all of the regulations that will be put on us. And every town, like every senior center, operates a little bit differently. So it is very much town specific. So working pretty quickly and getting to know the other town department heads and figuring out what the reopening process would look like. So I think the first 3 months for me, well, very quickly getting to know the community, getting to know the board, the department heads, and collectively figuring out a plan for the reopening. I know senior centers are probably phase 4, the last to reopen, but we all know that the senior center operation will not look like it did before the center closed to the public. So figuring out a safe way to get people back and connected, I think, is very important, but the operation is going to look entirely different if we're able to be in compliance with everything that is expected of us. And considering the vulnerable group, we need to take those extra precautions. I also think it's important to get to know the team itself and how comfortable people feel coming back into the work environment, depending on their own personal condition as well, if they have any underlying conditions, or if they may be a senior themselves, wanting to make sure the work environment is safe. And was so nice to give me a tour of the department so I could see the different spaces of the senior center, the multipurpose room, the smaller conference rooms, and trying to figure out what programs we could have there at a safe distance. So I think the first 3 months will really be focused on getting to know people in the community, figuring out who would be part of the team in terms of reopening, and then once we do reopen, what do the programs and services look like? Obviously not huge crowds of people in the multipurpose room. Maybe we think too of spots in town that are outdoors so we could have larger gatherings, obviously, if it's safe to do so. So putting some procedures in place for staff, for volunteers, and communicating and being clear about what we want to do with the wider community. So that, I would hope by month 6 we would all be back together, but as we know, everything's changing every day, and keeping an eye on the news in terms of what makes sense. Maybe in 6 months we will be back operating as we did before. Maybe we're operating a little bit differently. Who's really to know? None of us, but working together to try and figure out something that would work best. So I think that would be a big challenge in stepping into this role, is to figure that out and working through some of the kinks along the way. And a year from now, I know the town is working towards a new senior center, and that's something that I'd love to be a part of and advocate for and do what I can to help move the process forward. I've looked online to see where the town is with that project, and it's unclear to me where we are.
Really?
Really?
So I don't know. Do we have a spot? Are we looking to renovate? It was unclear. So everything that's involved, not news to any of you. I'm sure you've probably all worked countless hours in terms of trying to find a central location, a good spot. Maybe you're building something new, but everything that's involved in that, it's complex. It is complex, and it takes many, many years to get there. So I wouldn't say by year 1 we would have a brand new senior center. I'm not saying that by any means, but to have that too, focusing on the reopening, but yet not losing sight of what the town and the senior community wants, which is, from what I'm hearing for the past 2 interviews that I've had, is a senior center. And maybe it's not senior specific, maybe it's a community center, but that's a larger discussion to have at this time. So I think,
Great.
3 months getting to know people, building community relationships, networking, 6 months hopefully coming back into the building and operating in some sort of way, and everything that's involved in that in terms of procedures and policies in place, and then thinking larger.
Could you anticipate any, in the period of the year towards the senior center, any particular outreach or anything that could be done, even though the things were still limited?
Yeah, I think, so I presently work at a senior center, and even though the building is closed, the building is closed to the public. We are still operating as usual and working on outreach efforts and virtual programs. I attended a webinar the other day, and they were talking about older adults and how much access they have to technology, and they say 55% of older adults do access technology, but what about the other 45% of people that aren't? So you always wonder about the group that you're not reaching and how to make concerted effort to really reach out to those folks and to get them involved. It's an isolating time, I think, across the board for everyone, me included. It's just very different. It's very different, and the technology is great, but it's not the same as seeing people in person and really getting to know people in that manner.
Great.
So I think certainly there are efforts that could be placed across the entire year. I think, it's really important to establish rapport with people and get to know people and what they'd like to see, and I see the department's doing a great job already with different virtual programs and reaching out via phone calls, but there's always more that can be done, and what that more is really central to the organization and getting to know the people, and that's how you get people involved,
Great.
I think.
Thank you. I'm going to suggest we go to Patty and then Anita and then start with David and down.
All right.
So, all right?
Welcome back.
Mary. Sorry, Mary. I have to learn. I had a hard time remembering to call her Mary on Zoom, and now I'm having a hard time. Same thing.
Just call me late for dinner.
Right.
When working toward career goals, roadblocks always occur. Please share with us a roadblock you might have experienced and how you managed it to ultimately keep you on track to attain your goal. You might have been an unfortunate one and never had any obstacles on your way to your career, but I have my doubts about that.
I think everyone has obstacles on a daily basis. There are different challenges that you're met with, and it all depends on how you rise up to the challenge. And rejection, of course, is hard, but it's part of life. I think everyone's gone through it in some form or fashion, but for me, it just gives me that extra boost to keep going. It's almost a motivator for me, and if the time isn't right now, the time will be right sometime, and to continue to work on myself in whatever department that may be, whether it be my management style or something very focused to the job, just continuing to think, larger term, what I want to do if it's specific to my career, and what are the steps that I need to take in order to get there and to build my toolkit, and working with people along the way. Everyone in elder services, I've been lucky, has been so wonderful in terms of offering support and services and ideas to think about in order to take it to the next step.
But did you have a specific roadblock yourself?
A specific roadblock, I think for me, I worked in Wellesley as the senior activities coordinator for close to 6 years. And I would say the roadblock may have been myself, only because I loved the job. I was able to do the job. I developed such a strong connection with the community that it was really hard for me to take the next professional step, which was an assistant director position, which I eventually did, and that's the job that I'm in presently. It was just hard for me to take that because I felt so committed to the organization, and I loved it. And I still think about the community and all the work that I did. It was just hard for me. So I think it was myself. I think I knew the job well, that I could have left that community a few years before 6 years were completed, if that makes sense in a way. It was just, you just become so accustomed to the people that you work with, and you just put yourself into it, and you get to know everyone. It makes it very hard to kind of focus on you and your career goals when you develop such a nice rapport with people. It's very hard to leave. So
Well,
I
we
think
get
that's a
comfortable.
challenge of me,
We
for
get
me.
comfortable on what we do.
Yeah, that too. Very true. But challenge is good, and the learning and the growth, and I've had that. So I've been lucky in that way. But rejection is, it's hard, but you take it, and, there's always a learning. My grandmother always says to me, there's always a time. So, if this job doesn't work out for you, it's not your time. And I do believe in that, so.
Well, thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I have a follow-up question, if I may.
I think we can allow that.
Thank you. Ashley, I'm gonna put a twist on this.
Oh, okay.
It seemed like you handled the question well, so I'm gonna try to see if I can get to make it a little harder for you, I think. So, could you give us an example of a goal that you had while working in senior center that, where there was a direction you disagreed with?
Mm-hmm.
How did you handle it?
Mm-hmm.
So provide a specific example, what the specific direction was that you disagreed with, and then how you handled it subsequently.
Mm-hmm. I think it was during my first interview, Mary, Patty, you had asked what makes a program a success. Do you remember that conversation? And I said a lot of people focus on numbers, how many people are attending the program, and they relate that directly with success. For me, it's a matter of the people that are attending the program. So if someone is attending that program and they're not attending anything else at the senior center or through services, whatever the case may be, they're not connected at all, but they're connected to that one program, I would consider that a success. So everyone loves numbers. And a few times I've had that conversation with my direct report. We do not have the numbers, but yet the value of the program is so instrumental to the people that are attending. Let's not cut it. Let's see how it goes. We'll give it 3 more months. We'll give it 6 more months. Every time I would keep advocating for it. And at some point, you do reassess the program, and as best as you can to try and rebrand the program, re-advertise the program, take testimonials from people to really spotlight the program. You're still not getting the numbers. So I've had conversations with my direct report about this, and sometimes it's in favor of what I was advocating for, other times it was not, and that's okay. Everyone operates differently, but try to get them connected. So if the program wasn't able to continue, how else can we get these folks connected to the senior center, whether it be through volunteerism or if they have a program in mind that they want to see there. I just don't want to lose that connection with people because it is so vital. I think everyone knows how important being connected socially is, and the senior center is a great resource for that. And anyone at home watching, if you're not connected, please do reach out. Great place for information, anything that's on your mind. I know the community is here to support you in whatever way they can.
Thank you. I'll ask you to make this follow-up to the follow-up as brief as possible, but
Sorry.
what if it, no, you no,
I tend to go on.
no, that's fine, you're doing fine. What if the directive was given from someone above you, a supervisor or a supervisor's supervisor, and it was a directive that you didn't agree with? How would you handle it?
It does depend on the individual and what type of rapport I have with said individual. I tend to be a little long-winded with my answers, but I would speak to whatever the issue was and say how I felt about it and possibly play out different scenarios that could happen. It's at the end of the day, you can advocate, but if they're not seeing your side of the coin, it's still a 50-50 shot. So I would advocate to what I think would be right, and it's not my way or the highway. Really, you're speaking as a representative of the community, so you want to make sure what you're saying is authentic and true to the organization that you're a part of, and speak to that.
Okay. Anita, I think you're on.
I guess I am. Okay. You have come to realize that there is a lack of understanding about the fact that Elder E and Human Services HR is committed to provide services to not just elders, but to all age groups in the entire town. What is your experience working with and advocating for the younger age group? That's the first part.
Oh.
We'll
I'm
start
sorry.
there.
Oh, okay, good. During the interview process, we had multi-part questions, and I never knew when to answer.
Oh, well, I didn't realize
I
that,
don't know
but.
who thought of these questions, but they're very challenging. Let's see here.
Oh, maybe that says something about us, I guess.
A lot.
It's good. I think, Marge, you had asked me, second interview, how I felt about the first interview and what ideas kind of resonated with me. And this question that you're asking me now was a huge piece that I thought I did not mention in my first interview. The fact that I was so geared towards senior services that I left out everything else that the department handles. So reaching out in this way, I just wondered, did the department always focus on folks younger than 60, or is this a newer kind of initiative?
It's been in existence for several years now.
It has?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, ever since I've been involved, and that's, I think, 6 years, so, yeah, it's been around.
Yeah, it just seems very unique. Very
It is unique, and that's why we're interested in that.
I'm kind of looking at it from the perspective of, and I didn't realize that there was a lot of elder and human services being done when I first started here. That was the big opening of my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But realizing that a 20 or 30-year-old person who is down and out and needs a place to live and hasn't eaten comes into the building and needs help, we've been there to help them.
Right.
So what experiences have you had in that? And
Sure. I think thinking of this example, first off, awareness. So how many people in town are aware? Like you just mentioned, you weren't aware of all the services that the EHS department provides. So I would take that as an opportunity to market the services that you have, to reach out to the community organizations. I see here you have this nice community resources guide. Having this, I don't know how you disseminate this information, but making sure everyone has seen this at least once. You think about people who are in need, and some people don't feel as though they need the help, that there are other people that need it more than them. And the message is, if you need help, if you're hurting in any way, please do reach out. I specifically do not have experience as a social worker, but I know the team here has 2 very qualified social workers, so working with the team that we have in place in order to communicate the message out, I find to be very important. And bringing in how I've worked with folks of all different ages. I've done a lot of intergenerational programs. Aside from my work in aging services, I also have a background in teaching dance, so I feel very comfortable working with a wide range of individuals and demographics.
Let me see if you answered the second half. How would you cater some programs toward the younger residents to increase and expand participation, and how would you educate the population?
Just kind of piggybacking on what I had said earlier in terms of awareness, really having a plan, a publicity plan in place to target different interest groups is important. I know the younger generation, people seem to think social media is a good way to reach out to them. I'm not sure if people who are struggling go too much to social media, or maybe that's why they're struggling, because they see everything that they don't have. Whatever the case may be, targeting different groups to promote the message and the services that we have, and to get them connected in a way. And the communities where I've worked in, everyone knows each other, so there is that sense of camaraderie, and people look out for one another. So I think that's the message too, to reach out to people who are in need, but then relying on neighbors or community members, if they know of someone that is struggling, to have them reach out to us or have us reach out to them. So I would really focus on awareness, communication plan to publicize all that the department does, and then getting people involved. I know volunteering is a huge piece. It gives people a sense of purpose. So if people are struggling, maybe come up with some sort of volunteer program to make them feel part of the community, and to give them something to look forward to, and kind of format that a little bit in a way in terms of an outreach effort.
Okay, thank you.
My turn. Okay. The Littleton Coalition Against Addiction operates under Littleton Elder and Human Services. So the Coalition Against Addiction was created to raise awareness and provide resources for anyone who needs help recovering from substance abuse, dependency, and addiction. Support and resources are also available to friends and family. What experience do you have with addiction and mental issues, and how would you increase awareness to help expand this important program?
being completely honest, like I had referenced before, I do not have a social work background. I do not have any experience in this arena, so relying on staff that have really specialized in this would be a first action of mine, and looking into it further in terms of the program itself and how it is executed and how I could help with it. I think over the course of the next several months, we'll probably see an increase in use just because of everything that's happening to us. It almost feels as though the world's on hold and we're all living in a little bit of a nightmare. Not to be a downer, but I do see that happening, and they say mental health and depression appears differently in different age demographics. So if you're an older adult, it appears through different ailments that you may have, whether it be like joint pain and things like that. So it manifests differently than if you're in your younger years. So I think it's important to really have a scope of knowledge in that arena in terms of how mental health appears differently in different demographics, so you can become aware in terms of what questions to ask and how you can help someone and introduce the program to them.
Good enough.
As the Director of Elder and Human Services, you realize that it is important to connect with town boards as well as town groups to establish relationships, share your goals and expectations, etc., which ultimately could benefit the Elder and Human Services program.
So when I was touring today, I didn't realize how close the department is in physical space to other departments, such as the recreation department. Anne had mentioned that a new library is being built right in the back. So I would consider building community and community relations a strength of mine. I do generally enjoy talking to people about the work that they do and trying to figure out how we can all collaborate. Oftentimes you see a library in a community that's offering yoga classes to seniors, but yet the senior center is doing the same thing. So trying to start, why compete, why duplicate resources when you can buddy up, team up, and offer something that could be at a higher caliber, a better experience for everyone. So that whole thought of working together to create something that everyone can enjoy. So developing community relationships with fellow departments, I can see that happening. And it seems so far to me that everyone is willing to collaborate. That's the other piece. I can type so many emails, call someone so many times, show up at their desk, but if they're not willing, then it goes nowhere. But from what I've gathered so far, it seems as though the town likes to work together, which is great. And it would make things easier in a way in terms of building out the program, and through developing those relationships, making people aware of all the department has to offer. And if we're missing something, how do we get that something developed? It could be something that the recreation department has knowledge of in terms of an outdoor activity or even indoors, but you really can develop more with more partners. So let's see, so goals would be what I've been saying all along, just reaching out to people letting them get to know you and vice versa, and learning what the different departments have to offer, and then seeing what the possibilities are for collaboration and teaming up and working together. And maybe too, they know of someone that could really benefit from a program that you had that they were unaware of. So it comes back down to the whole promotion of programs and services.
You've answered well for interdepartmental. What about if you were to prepare an initial speech to go out to the Rotary? Can you give us a summary of what you might talk about with Rotary as far as the COA and EHS?
So Rotary, okay. Are they, help me, a volunteer organization?
Rotary Club International, it's a worldwide organization, each town usually has.
Okay. So I think for me, it would be getting to know who I would be speaking in front of and researching what their organization is about and getting to know what they wanted to know. So if they're a volunteer organization, I don't know if they'd be interested in learning about all the volunteer opportunities at the senior center because they're already involved in that fashion. So they may be more interested in the senior center project long term. I think it's always nice to give a good overview of the senior center. So program services, transportation is huge. I haven't hit on that one yet today. So just encompassing what the senior center does, and always at the end, if people have ideas, if something's on their mind, it's never too early to plant a seed. If they want if they have an idea for the senior center, again, very over here right now, but it's good to be vocal with ideas, and then you can always go back to that said group. I think it's really important to reach out to all the organizations, so maybe I would have a little blanket script, or I don't know, I don't do well with scripts, so it has to be organic. Have some pictures always speak to what you do, but you have to make sure you know the group before you speak to them, because then it just comes off and no one's really listening to what you're saying, so it's not a good use of time for either party. You want people to be engaged and involved and ask questions. At least that would make me happy.
Right.
I'm sure it's the same for many people.
Good, thank you.
Okay. All right, you are in the position of Director of EHS COA. This is a long question, but you've been on the job for 2 weeks, just long enough to begin to know your staff, which is the full-time assistant director or full-time outreach worker and your part-time office manager. It's 4:30 in the afternoon, and you're just getting ready to leave for the day. A young homeless mother with 2 young children in tow show up at your office seeking help. They have not eaten all day, nor do they have a place to stay for the night. Your outreach worker has left already. What do you do?
Ooh. Good question. I just have a quick question for the group. Does everyone come up with these questions, or is it a team discussion?
Not necessarily the ones we've read.
Okay, all right, that's fair. That's fair.
And could I just, before you answer that,
Sure.
I work with the St. Vincent de Paul very closely with the COA.
Mm-hmm.
And this situation happened 7 times in a month and a half.
Wow.
So I want to hear what you have to say.
That makes it very practical. So the bleeding heart in me would be, let's go out for lunch and talk about this. But that's the thing with senior services. You never know. Every day is unique. Every day is different. I think seniors and the population that you serve comes first, and maybe 4:30 time for you to go home. But if you have someone in front of you asking and needing help, how can you send that individual away? You can't. There's no way you can do that. So speaking with the individual, hearing what's happening, and then I would consult my handy dandy notebook here and figuring out which organizations I can connect this individual with. So once he or she leaves my office, they feel safe, they know a plan of action, they know that they'll have food, that they know that they have all of the essentials that many of us take for granted day to day, but making sure that the person feels safe, I think, is huge. And by week 2, I am a studier. I'll be sure to know all of the organizations to connect the individual with. And by then, hopefully, we can give a little hug. I don't know. But yeah, that's a tough question. Thanks for bringing that up, that it does come up pretty frequently, as sad as it is to hear. But good on the individual for coming forward and voicing the concern of her present, or his or her present condition, and how we can help this individual out, I think is very important. I think, everyone gets caught up in their day-to-day, and for me, I'm very high energy, energetic, but this is very real for the individual, and it's real for all of us to kind of take a step back and realize this is happening to so many people, and how can we reach out to them? How can we connect them? There are so many wonderful organizations that are stepping up and helping the community out in many different ways. It's amazing to know that. Wow. Heavy.
Yeah,
It's sad. It's sad.
It is. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a tough
I
question.
got the tough question.
You did.
Okay,
I think it's back to you.
back to me, and it's the last question.
Oh.
Look at that. So, see, not so bad. Maybe. And you've already partially answered this question, I think, anyway, So, as you've referenced, and we've kind of talked a little bit about, or many times, a place to expand space for seniors or elders is a priority for the COA in Littleton and for this board. Some work, though, has occurred in the past 3 years. And we've made some progress. So, and you said something about that earlier, and finding out where things stand. So, what steps would you take, if selected as the director, to get yourself fully informed as quickly as possible to help keep things in motion, taking into consideration the COVID-19 restrictions? Because we feel like, we haven't been able to do much, quite frankly, in the last few months. And so we decided to ask you, and how would you be as specific as possible about any ideas you have about how would you get yourself up to speed and help us get going again?
So I try to get myself up to speed by looking at all of the communications that the department has publicized online. I did a quick search to see Littleton Senior Center to see where the progress was, where you're at with the process, and all I came up with, maybe I didn't do enough digging, was an opinion piece by an individual that was publicized, I think in February 2019, and he or she, I can't remember, was referencing that you had 3 different possibilities. 1, to build; 2, to renovate; and 3, place an addition. So I think is placing addition on town hall or renovate town hall.
Oh.
Okay, so a lot of different options, 3 different options there. Again, not sure where you are at this point, but survey, I know you have done a survey, a needs assessment, a survey, I believe in 2015 with UMass Boston. That's 6 years ago, may seem a little dated. Some of the data may be relevant, some may not. So maybe a reassessment of where we're at, what the possibilities are. I think a lot of homework goes into, as you mentioned, Marge, at least 3 years now, in terms of what the senior center and to conceptualize what the senior center will look like. And there's always a lot to think about when thinking of that. You know, now people aren't thinking senior center specific, wondering if it should be a community center, pros and cons to both. So I think for me, if it hasn't been done already, reaching out to communities that are similar to Littleton in terms of population and demographics to see if they have a senior center, what it looks like, what their road was to get to the senior center, advice. So coming up with, I'm sure you already have it, a little task force, a little committee, senior center committee, and having some questions, thorough questions like we had today, just brainstorming everything you could possibly think of. I think, so doing your homework, reaching out to similar communities, I think that's important to do. And then what does the program space look like? Do you want multi-purpose space? Do you want a said pool, cards, game room? I mean, there's thousands of possibilities. So really trying to figure out what the community wants, focus groups. So there's a lot of work to be done there. And then the interior design in terms of like carpeting, what type of carpeting is best, wall color, just the options go on and on and on. It's endless. So for me, it would be a point of focus, trying to figure out where we are in the process. Do we have a spot that we're building? Are we looking to, renovate the town hall? Has everyone approved in the community? Is this a go forward moment? Are we still in the garnering support stage and trying to promote why the department is in need of more space? So that takes time as well. Just a lot to consider with that. So,
There is, and we have accomplished some, so we would be, learning that too. It's hard to answer a question if you don't know where we are, and we can't spend time doing
Yeah,
that
sorry.
now today, but I'm personally feel pretty good that we've gotten to where we are, we have made progress. So, and the town of
Excellent.
Littleton has already set aside $3 million toward the senior center, and it's a fund that
Excellent.
cannot be touched without town meeting to
Okay.
allow it to be touched.
That's
So, we've made some progress. But anyway, that's a priority. And we have a couple of, maybe if that clock is right, about 10 minutes. So maybe you have questions for us too, left, that you haven't had answered.
I wish I stayed up last night coming up with these complex questions, but I was more anxious about how I was going to be today, knowing that it's recorded live. That takes it to a whole nother level of intimidation. But
Well, you're
We just
right.
wanted you to be ready,
yes, no, I appreciate
Hit the
that.
ground running.
I'm so glad that Ann told me that it was recorded. Otherwise, stepping in today and then seeing my face on that screen, whew, I may have passed out. But here I am.
Well, it happens to all of us, I think, when even you become a board member and you realize you're on TV, that's where, it's like, oh, okay. All of our board, meetings are televised.
Yes, yes. For me, any questions that I think what it really comes down to is a personality match too. I think anything in the job description that I don't know presently, I could certainly gain an understanding and make advancements towards the organization and the department. But just making sure it's a good fit for both parties. And like I mentioned before, my personality is very high energy. I want to do a million things. I want to accomplish a million things. So sometimes I may need to be reined back a little bit. But I'm very passionate about elder services. I really believe in the work of elder services, and I know there's changes that will be coming due to the pandemic. So really building a
Sorry.
network and community relations in order to make it a smooth process for everyone involved, and that's very important to me.
And
As
that-
far as questions go, I think I asked a lot of the questions that I had at the previous interviews. My only other real question would be that I didn't bring up previously is the work with the Friends organization and the board and the senior center, like how everyone works together collaboratively. So I'd be curious to hear a bit about that if anyone wants to speak to it.
I can jump in if you'd like to.
Sure,
take
go
it.
ahead.
Sure. So the Friends do a tremendous amount of work with the department and with the board on a monthly basis pre-pandemic. It wasn't monthly, wasn't it? There were luncheons.
Yes,
That they were
monthly.
providing. These extensive luncheons, they have very elaborate, themed and thoughtful events that I think the seniors really appreciate
Like
and love.
sometimes with entertainment.
Yep, and we even might have people in an adjacent room who might have served as entertainment, who may be recording today's meeting hypothetically. There's a lot of community involvement in the process, and they put in a tremendous amount of work. All hands on deck. Our building maintenance supervisor helps set up. The Friends themselves come in and help set up. COA members help set up. The department sometimes serves food to the residents, and other times we have the light and water department that serves food to the
Oh, nice.
seniors who come for the luncheon. I've had the opportunity to attend a few luncheons, and they're a hit. I don't think there's two ways about it. They're really a hit. Also, the Friends holds meetings on a monthly basis themselves.
Yes, they
do. Yeah. They
have a regular meeting the first week of the month.
Thank you.
Every month, usually.
And they have been collecting funds and working towards advocating for a new senior center as well for quite some time. And ultimately, one of the they provide some level of support in terms of areas where the department may not have funds. They do provide. The most recent example of that is a pretty large gift to the town for a replacement van.
Oh,
And
wow.
off the top of my head, I can't remember the amount that they gifted. Was it $20,000?
Something like
Yeah.
that, 29,000 or something. It was a good sizable amount
It
of
was a
money.
sizable, yes, it was a very sizable amount, and it was gonna be used to be matched with a grant from another grant, and ultimately have some offset with the town's funds and be able to pull together a replacement van. There are also other assistance that they provide financial to the department, but, and not to forget the thrift shop where they have one of the best thrift shops I've seen in a long
Oh,
time,
yes.
quite frankly.
Very, very popular.
Yes.
Popular place.
And collect some of their funds. I don't know if anyone has any additional.
That's how they raise their money primarily. They do a lot of, they get quite an income from that thrift shop. And people in town know of it, and they get donations of beautiful clothing. So, they're a very active group.
Excellent.
The Friends group is, and as Nina said, the monthly events are so well, I mean, we would have over just about 100 people every month in that multipurpose room.
In the multipurpose room out here?
Yes.
For lunch.
Oh,
For our lunches.
that's tight, very tight.
Well, it is, and sometimes, you know, you'd see the director and the outreach worker and the assistant director all helping to serve depending upon
Very
how
nice.
much help they had, so
Yep.
we do try to work together.
I just had one more question. I don't want to hold anyone up. So out of all of the seniors in town, what's the percentage that participate, that volunteer? I just want to know like the percentage of people that are involved. And that actually could include all ages too, since the department.
I'd have to
Focuses
collect,
on that,
I
too.
don't have all those statistics in the gray matter. So, I hate to admit that, but it's true. And I'm thinking, you know, it's hard to answer, but we have huge numbers.
Okay.
At least I wish I
There was,
had,
there was over 1,000 people signing in and coming to programs before the pandemic
yeah.
every month, and it's rising.
Oh, good.
But I don't know the exact number, but it's
Transportation.
over 1,000.
And then the transportation numbers have been rising every single month.
Right.
Again, of course, everything is
Mm.
dropped now, but, yeah, no, it's, the numbers have increased month by month, slowly, constantly on the rise.
Just
That's a
in-
fair statement, and they're huge numbers, they're not.
Excellent.
Just in my craft class, when I started, I had 10 or 12 every month,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm up to 25 or 30 every month.
Wow.
And the same with the exercise classes, the stretch and flex that runs twice a week, and there's a yoga class and other exercise classes. And I remember going to that group when there were 12 of us, and now we were up to 28, 29 in that multipurpose room,
That's great.
every Tuesday and every Thursday. And it's on Zoom now, being provided by the instructor that worked for the COA, but she provides it herself.
Excellent.
And for people that want to pay her, she charges only $1 or more than the COA was charging to get the class online.
Mm.
So that is one, you know, it's not run by, and it's not a virtual group that is sponsored by the COA now
Okay.
because of that, because she felt so dedicated to the seniors, and she knew what inactivity would do. And so she just puts this, she calls it stretch and tone instead of stretch and flex online. So, and there's several seniors from Littleton that participate every week now.
Excellent.
So the classes do word of mouth, it seems, where, you know, gets around, and people started coming to different things. They have grown. So, I'm sorry I don't have the exact statistics for you, but I can.
No
Thank
worries.
you.
No worries. I just attended a conference back in the fall, and I think Emmett Smarzo at MCOA said that in each community, 20 to 30% of seniors actually participate and are connected to a senior center. So I like to ask that question to know where the community stands in terms of senior services, but this department is bigger than just senior services, so it would really be reaching a little bit more than that.
And the, you know, the transportation vans are available to
Mhm.
handicapped people as well as seniors, you know. So,
Mhm.
and it goes to Boston even.
Excellent. Okay, great.
We've kind of arrived at 3:45, which, 3:43, sorry. But I wanted to stay on target because we need to.
Sure.
And, so I don't know, does anybody have any other comments or information that they can share with Ashley?
I'm so glad you were able to come by and sit down and talk with us. It makes a big difference.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here. I mean, the the video interviewing was interesting. I think some people heard lawnmowers in the background, and at some point my ear was smushed up at the video camera because I couldn't hear what was happening. It's not as, of course, not as personal as seeing
Right.
everyone, and as intimidating as an interview is, it's still good to be in the setting and for me, it was helpful to see where the department is and the space that you have presently, just so I can kind of wrap my head around what the reopening would look
Well,
like.
see, now you know, when we say we need space, we need space. You're a witness to it.
Hey, if I had a crystal ball, I would make it happen.
But that's where it is that, you know, today, it can change. And that's
Right.
our goal, so.
Yeah.
So, Madam Chair, with
Yes.
your approval, I'm just gonna kind of update Ashley on some next steps. and what we're
Absolutely, please do.
So Ashley, the Council on Aging Board is interviewing both candidates today and intends to deliberate this afternoon. They expect to come to a conclusion today and provide a recommendation also this afternoon. We will call candidates, yourself and the other candidate, by noon tomorrow with next steps at the latest. It may also be today. The Select Board, for the step following that, really is that the Select Board's meeting is on Monday, June 29th, so this coming Monday in the evening. We may be able to be nimble enough, depending upon the selected candidate and depending upon the town's preparedness, to propose an appointment at that time, but I realize it's a very short turnaround, and we may not be able to make that come to fruition. So it's possible that we may be talking about a July 13th appointment. In either scenario, if you're selected, would you be able to attend a meeting on the evening of Monday, July 29th, or?
June 29th.
June 29th, thank you, or Monday, July 13th?
July 17th, you said earlier.
I meant July 13th. All of my dates are a little mixed up. I apologize. Let me try that again.
That's okay.
Monday, June 29th.
Which is this coming Monday,
That's
right?
right.
And
Okay.
it's
Very, very
13th is Monday, July 13th.
Thank you. And July 13th.
And there's Zoom meetings.
Oh.
Yeah, right. The
From-
Monday, July 29th, sorry. The Monday, June 29th meeting will definitely be a Zoom meeting.
The July.
There is some discussion about potentially having future meetings in person.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I missed what you said. In person or Zoom?
I anticipate the Monday, June 29th meeting to be in person.
No,
No,
Zoom.
no, Zoom. 29th is Zoom.
Folks, I'm glad I'm not interviewing today.
That's okay.
Or I am,
I
in
don't-
some way. But let me clear up the confusion I'm creating here. This coming Mondays would be via Zoom. The July 13th meeting could be either over Zoom or in person. That's a lot of information all at once, and certainly understand that I gave you some information in both directions in both cases, but if you were selected, would you be able to attend either one of those meetings? Understanding you have notifications to take up on your end and a decision to make on your end if you're selected. And that may mean that we're not able to line it up for until July 13th.
I'm gonna make it easy and just say.
Thank you.
I'm confused.
Are the meetings at night? I'm sorry.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
And if there, oh, no, it's gonna be by Zoom. Stay out of it. I'll only make it more confusing. But, all right, and we've gone a little over, so I
Oh,
guess
sorry.
we can, and do you, is Ann meeting?
I'm actually going to
Oh, okay.
Are we
walk out
recessed?
with Ashley.
And we will have in a minute, yes, we are going to be in recess for 10 minutes.
Starting,
As soon as
She unplugs us.
we shut this off, Patty's gonna shut off the, so we're done, I think, and thank you, Ashley.
This has been quite the experience, let me tell you.
Well, it certainly is wonderful. So, I'm assuming Ann will just come in, or do we have to go get her?
there we go.
I can
Nina's gonna check.
I think she was in multi-purpose.
Could be.
I think I managed to get my phone on silent mode.
Oh, I know, huh? What happens with me is I forget to turn it back on.
Me too.
So. Hi there, Lisa.
Hi.
How are you? Now, you can take your mask off. Did Ann fill you in?
She didn't have a chance to mention the mask.
Oh, okay. But take it off while you're here, as long as no one comes up close to you.
Yes.
So, it's much easier to talk without a mask.
Otherwise, I'd be yelling at all of you.
Oh,
That's too
So-
good.
So, welcome. It is so nice to see you in person. I
Yes.
have to say, and the board, the COA board really felt strongly about this, and so we were thankful and grateful to our our select board, who changed a previous ruling to allow this to happen today, so that we could get together, because it's important, I think, for you, as well as for us, to meet each other and be able to talk to each other.
And see real people
And
and
that's
not
right.
just TV
Because,
screen
you know, Zoom
stars.
is okay, but it certainly leaves a little bit to be desired.
Right.
So welcome. I'm going to ask people, I think you know some of us, and you've seen us enough. I think you're probably getting tired of seeing us, but
No.
I'm going to ask, we're starting with Nina, to go around and reintroduce yourself or introduce yourself. So, go ahead.
Hello again, Nina Nazarian, Town Administrator. Good to see you today. Thank
Good
for
to see
coming
you.
in.
Greetings from Princeton.
My name is David Sullivan, COA board member,
David.
and welcome.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, welcome. I'm Ann Lee Ellis, and I'm on the board.
Ian Lee.
I am Susan Melanter. I was one of the participants in the other
Yes.
Zoom meetings. I had a different background.
Yes,
then.
you had a very rustic, like Italian type villa.
Right, yes, it was not my backyard.
Too
You
bad.
look like an Italian courtyard or some villa or something
Oh.
like that. It was beautiful. And I'm Marge Payne.
Yes.
Yep. And,
It says Patty Hunt, but you knew me as Mary Hunt.
Yes, yeah, like that doesn't,
She's in disguise.
or you could be twins, I don't know. It's like-
You never know. I could confuse people. I'd be a good-looking twin.
Yes.
we call her Patty, you know, and it was hard for me to remember to call her Mary when we were on Zoom, because I keep, her real name is Mary, but she's known as
My
Patty.
real name is Mary, but I go by Patty.
And how did,
Mary
Are-
Patricia.
oh,
Uh-huh.
okay. All right.
New twist.
I'll always be
Yeah.
Mary when I'm getting money. When that paycheck came on Monday or Friday, I was Mary. But I like
Important
Patty.
stuff, yes.
And my name's Anita Harding, and I'm a board member.
Anita, hi.
Nice to meet you.
Hi,
Hi,
Joe
Rick.
Layden, Assistant Town Administrator. Nice to see you again.
I recognize you, yes.
Um,
And so Lisa, I'm thrilled to let you know that the list of questions isn't that long.
Mark, excuse
Yeah,
me,
I
Mark,
don't-
do you want to have someone else also just introduce herself?
Oh, Maureen.
Maureen, I'm sorry, I was thinking that 2 minutes ago, and then it went right out of the gray matter. I'm sorry, Maureen. So, we have one board member, let me just explain to you too, that our board is 9 members.
Yes.
6 of us are here. We have 2 vacancies, which we have interviewed applicants to fill already,
Yeah.
to fill the positions. And we have one board member who was unable to be here today with us, but is on Zoom. And her name is Maureen Donnelly, and there she is. So she hears you, or hears us. So she is not going to be participating in asking well, maybe she should be, and I think I made a mistake. So I omitted that earlier, and I apologize. So that's my error, as far as getting her involved, and maybe I will have her do the first question. That might work out well. So, and that way she gets a chance to talk a little bit to you herself. So, are you with us, Maureen?
I certainly am.
Okay, so, why don't we start there?
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Congratulations, Lisa.
Thank you so much.
You're here before the COA board, who will recommend to the town administrator the candidate we feel who will best serve the department. If you are chosen, what are your personal expectations for the first 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year?
Well, best laid plans. never always go as planned, but for the first 3 months, my priorities would be to get to know everyone that I work with or deal with, the residents, the townspeople, and to get them to learn about me. So there'll be not any big major plans, but it'd be more like, let's learn about each other, find out our interest, our strength, and our goals. So that would be the first 3 months. The next 6 months would be starting to look at, and I don't know if you have one or not, your strategic plans, that the board has made an action plan or strategic plan. Look at those, see where the status is on that, and start working towards those goals. And if you don't have one, then we'd start working on one. And after a year, hopefully everything is falling into place and we're moving along with that. So basically finding out everyone, who they are, how they work, what their goals are, what the goals of the board, the department, the town is, and work towards that.
Great. Okay, are you set, Maureen?
Yes, it was me. I said thank you.
Oh, okay, we just didn't, I didn't catch it, so, sorry. All right, why don't we start this time over here with Anita?
Okay. When working toward career goals, roadblocks occur. Please share with us a roadblock you have experienced and how you managed it to ultimately keep you on track to attain your goal.
I think one of the biggest roadblocks, or something that happened when I started working with seniors and started working with the town, was the not having a senior center, which I know a lot of towns have gone through. But we had nothing. We were in a warehouse. And we went through 3 tries of renovating or buying a piece of land, trying to get a building, and got basically denied each time. So, but from each one, we learned how to, what to do next, what information needed to get out, what information needed to be shared to the townspeople, and what really was financially, fiscally, economically possible with the town. So even though it was a roadblock, it took 4 or 5 years, didn't help with my first goal, but learned from that, and we were successful from that. So.
Very exciting. May I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
Unless you have, Anita, a question? Thank you. Could you give us an example of a scenario in your work in a senior facility where, the senior center specifically, where there was a direction that you disagreed with and how you handled it?
It's hard. Because I think from everyone I've worked with in the board, we all had similar goals and similar directions that we wanted to change. I think one of the directions, and this is still ongoing, is to be able to fully staff a center, even when we were at the warehouse, to have a staff that could support the programs and the events and what the residents, the seniors needed to be engaged. And we weren't getting it. And even though we could present numbers and statistics and everything, we weren't getting it. So the direction that we wanted to go was not because of what was going at the center, but what was happening from the town above. We're still doing that. We're still fighting it. We're still kind of showing the numbers and still kind of proving this is being successful. We need this to continue. So I don't think anything's been resolved yet. It's still ongoing. Again, we keep learning each time. So.
Right. So just a slight follow-up to that question. If you did have if you did experience a scenario where a direction you wanted to go was different than, let's say, the COA board you
Mhm.
currently work with, but the board wanted to take a different path, but you disagreed with it, how would you handle that?
Communication, verbal communication, okay. Why do you want to go in this direction? What is your final outcome? What is your final goal for this, okay? And if that's your goal, how do you see it going there? And then looking at that, analyzing that, let's research this. Is this feasible? Is this possible? And if they can give me arguments and they prove that, okay, this is what we need to do, it's like, okay, you're my advisors, you're my bosses, so to speak, so I will do whatever I have to go in that direction. Now, I will document everything along the way, and, you know, if it proves it's like this is not working, whether through numbers or through interest or for feedback, surveys, whatever, that it's not working, I would like to sit back down and say, let's re-examine this. Is this still the direction that you want to take? Okay, so, okay.
Hey, thank you. Patty? Mary? Mary, Patty?
I wasn't ready for Mary here.
Sorry.
That's okay. You've come to realize that there is a lack of understanding about the fact that Elder E and EHS, Human Services, is committed to provide services to not just elders, but all age groups in the entire town. What is your experience working with and advocating for younger age groups?
I personally have not done that in West Boylston. We don't have a human services, we don't have park and rec, we don't have anything. I have been promoting and pushing, and we have been working with intergenerational programs and working with the schools. So on that level, I've been advocating for the relationships or the ability to have seniors and younger people together, to work together. It's a win-win situation. I have not actually done services for younger people, but alongside with working with seniors, it's been serving both of them. So,
Okay. How would you educate the population about that particular service to younger age group?
through, if you can do the intergenerational programs, which we
No, I
have.
mean, how would you educate the community about the fact that human services is also for younger people?
Again, information, you have to get it out there. You have to get it out there through,
But how would you do that?
how would I do that?
Yes.
Showing statistics, showing the research, showing all these programs and statistics that say, hey, this is what's happening when we do services for, for all age groups. This is what happens when we pull in families together. This is what happens when grandparents, grandparents raising grandchildren. This is what happens when we have these things available for people. We create a stronger foundation for the community, for the families. Let's look at these numbers, these stories, these programs, and put it out there and show that to them. And information, you have to get it out there, every way, shape, or form. And that's about.
How particularly would you get it out there?
Social media works, newsletter works, local cable station works, Facebook works. Every generation is comfortable with their own way of getting information. Just everything that you can use, put it on there, get it out there.
Thank you.
Who's switched on coming to me? Looks good. I look good.
And also, just a side note,
Yeah.
word of mouth. When somebody does something in a program, like our greeters program, we have seniors working in the school to greet people as they come in. It's more to greet like visitors and direct them, but as the kids were going from class to class, they would start talking to the greeters, and some relationships were forming. And these seniors then started talking to their friends. Oh, I met this coolest kid. Like, this family needs help, you know. So word of mouth got out through that. I didn't have to, other than promote the program itself with the school vice principal and my seniors, I didn't have to do anything else. Word of mouth also helps, especially with seniors. They love to talk. So.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
no, that's right. We
I
have,
threw everybody off. I'm sorry.
no, we have plenty of time, so no, always feel comfortable. Don't worry about that.
The Littleton Coalition Against Addiction operates under the Littleton EHS
Yes.
department. And the coalition was created to raise awareness and provide resources for anyone who needs help recovering from substance abuse, dependency, and addiction. Support and resources are also available to friends and family. What experience do you have with addiction and mental health issues, and how would you increase awareness to expand this important program?
Yeah, mental health is huge. I think I mentioned it in one of my last Zoom meetings. Other than the under 21 age group is the one that has the highest suicide numbers, and the second one after that is those over 60. So mental health is a huge issue. I have worked with a lot of residents in terms of outreach for that. They don't understand that. They don't feel like at that age they should be dealing with it, when in fact they do. And they're also very proud, so they really try to push it away. I think what you're doing with some of your support groups is phenomenal. And to just keep going with those support groups, maybe even doing more support groups, more focus groups would be the way to address some of that issue. It's a stigma. It's a stigma, and a lot of people are not going to say, I want to do this, I want to get involved, I want to talk to somebody about it. One of the other things that I thought about as I've been going through with this a lot, especially right now, because you can't meet up in person, the telephone contact, to set up a program to talk to people, much like the National Suicide Hotline Prevention, the Samaritans Prevention, Mental Health Awareness Prevention in Worcester, and to encourage that as much as possible. Encourage it, again, through the cable access station, through your newsletter, through word of mouth, through Facebook, to say, we have services here available, and please partake of it. It's not going to reach everybody, but if we can reach some of them, I think that would be a plus situation. To get over the stigma that people have with mental health, or especially with elderly mental health, that's a large hill that's going to be baby steps each way. You know, I honestly don't know any other way of doing it. You know? Unfortunately. So.
Thank you.
As the director of EHS, you realize that it is important to connect with the town boards as well as town groups to establish relationships, share your goals and expectations, etc., which ultimately could be beneficial to the EHS programs. How would you anticipate getting this piece of your job up and running?
Again, relationship building, you have to do wherever you go. And it's not just the town boards, it's also community resources and community health organizations that we should reach out to, because they can be a great resource. I would hope though it might not always happen, that the departments are already working with each other, that they're talking with each other, not just at your annual, semi-annual meetings, but maybe through monthly department head meetings or monthly training meetings, that people can talk about what's going on with each other in the departments, and who has what need, who has something that they could offer, to talk about like that. Goals, again, we have monthly, or we did have monthly department head meetings where we would discuss what was going on with each department. And then, of course, everybody wanted to prioritize themselves, which doesn't always work, but that's the role of the town administrator, to say number one, number two, number three. It's like, try to work like that. So, again, it's mostly, it's communication again, verbal communication, getting it out there, and just trying to work with everybody, because if everybody is successful, then the town's successful, so, and then the community is successful, so.
Would you provide us a brief summary of how you would prepare your initial speech to a group such as Rotary Club?
Huh. Just met with them like 4 months ago. In meeting with the Rotary Club, okay, here we are. This is what our department currently does for servicing. This is who we service. These are our goals. These are our goals for the next 6 months, for the next year, for the next 5 years. And I'd like to take you along on that ride and see how that we can help each other, So, finding out what the goals are from this board, this town, and then start with that. So, I mean, my goal, it's not really a goal, and I should say my future, I have a passion for what I do. I love what I do. I love working with seniors, and I love advocating for the community, both young and old, because these towns without these communities and being healthy communities are not going to survive. So that, if I can just continue with that, it comes out, and that's what's going to get relayed to everybody.
Thank you.
My turn.
Your turn.
This is a scenario, okay? You have been selected for our position in Littleton. You have been on the job a mere 2 weeks, just long enough to begin to know your staff of a full-time assistant director, a full-time outreach worker, and a part-time office manager. It's 4:30 p.m. and you are just getting ready to leave for the day, and a young homeless woman, mother with 2 young children in tow, shows up in your office seeking help. They have not eaten all day, nor do they have a place to stay that night. Your outreach worker has already left. What do you do?
The outreach worker should have an emergency number that I can call. That should already be listed there, that I can get a hold of her. There's, from where what I've done. So I would contact the emergency number for the food pantry to see if we can meet, it's in another building, to meet there to see if we can gather some stuff together. And then I'm not familiar with what is everything in Littleton, but I would contact one of my contacts that does emergency housing in a motel, and see if we can get them situated for a week at least. Could they do that? Just start going through all the resources and connecting them and seeing what we can get right away, immediately.
Have you ever done something like that?
Yes.
Yeah. That can't be easy.
No, but it happens.
Not
And it
easy.
happens more and more, unfortunately.
Does it happen a lot in your experience?
No, it hasn't happened a lot. It's happening more, but not a lot. So, but again, you have all your resources, your ducks in a row. It's like, okay, let's call people, let's get them on board. So, our center, we do have emergency food rations that, I can give immediately, but I would rather go to my food pantry, the food pantry in town, because then they have a lot more, and they also have things for younger children, babies, whatnot, so, little prevalent, so, and then, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We're at the last question. See, told you, wasn't very long. So,
You're getting easier and easier. I'm like, what's happening here? It's like,
excuse me. So, but that leaves time for questions for you to ask of us too,
Okay.
so. So I'll ask you the last, prepared question we have anyway. So you probably have sensed, and I know you have already, that a place to expand space for seniors or elders is a priority for the COA board here in Littleton. Some work has occurred the past 3 years, and with some progress. What steps would you take, if selected as the director, to get yourself fully informed as quickly as possible to help keep things in motion? Taking into consideration the COVID-19 restrictions and situation. And, how would you pick up that ball and help us keep running with it?
Well, I
Because
would
we
want
feel
to-
like, COVID has affected that too. And something that's kind of just at a standstill now, so.
I would want to see what you've done for the 3 years, what feasibility studies you've done, what space needs you've done, any surveys that so whatever you have done, I would like to look at and get familiar with that. And then from there, okay, what would the next step be? Whether it would be to start informational meetings, which you can do online, Zoom, whatever, or would it be, I don't know where you're at, but would it be, do you have a site picked out already? Do you have town-owned land that you're anticipating using, or are you purchasing land and taking it off the tax roll? That's gonna be another hurdle that you have to convince the town this is something we need to do. That's always a hurdle. And then from there, then you would start thinking about the phases that you would want to do through your project. The phases are a lot easier to stomach for people instead of all at once, because then that gets them a little more prepared about what's coming. And if you can say, okay, definitely, if we get this for phase 1, that kind of shoes you in for the next phases, whatever. It might be that you need to start looking into talking to an architect or an engineer to see, okay, this is what we're thinking, tell me what your cost per square foot is right now today, and then tell me what it is next year, 2 years, 3 years, depending how long this project might take, So basically looking at what you have and then seeing what the next step needs to be. So.
You don't happen to know an architect, do you?
You.
Sorry, I couldn't resist, I'm sorry.
Up to you. So, I will warn you, I will. It's like, if you do choose me, and we go through the space plan and all that, no architect is gonna like working with me, because it's like, I know how things work in a center, and I know how things should be, so don't tell me that you think this needs to be there and that needs to be there, So, it might not be pretty sometimes, so.
All right, well, thank you.
Just for warning. No.
It's so true. I mean, we have made progress here in town. It's not like we are at 0 point,
Right.
So,
And what's your feeling? Do you feel that people are behind you on this?
I think we have a lot of support. We're very fortunate here, and actually the town has already put aside $3 million towards the senior center for us.
Then I think that then you're in a good shape.
Well-
And you're also, it's like, as you say, it's not just elders, it's all human services. So you're kind of also a community center, and I think that's so important with smaller sized towns, because you can really get everybody in and work with everybody, and it's helpful for the whole community, families, young and.
So I'll be the devil's advocate, though.
Uh-oh.
What if you have a large segment of the population that feels that, oh no, it's a senior center only?
They have to have some fun intergenerational programs to show them, hey, it might not be so bad, so, yes.
I mean,
Yes, that does.
Littleton has not, obviously, gotten to the point of deciding what is the best scenario for the space, whether it is a community center, it is a freestanding building, and so that is still out there, and that's okay, because we know it's out there, and a decision will have to be made, but that's where, kind of one of the places we're at.
Because it looks like, I think, from your percentage of the 60 plus is around 23% of the population?
Right, with a
Right.
projection to grow to, more.
Right, because you have another huge 50 to 60, but you also have a lot of younger families here too, so, you have a good combination, so.
Okay, do you have questions for us now?
Nita doesn't get to ask anything?
I did ask
Oh,
that
she
follow-up
did,
question.
and she'll ask if she has something else that pops
That's right.
into her head, she will. Don't,
Did she get mad at somebody?
don't challenge her.
Or did she,
That was a little accident on a jet ski.
wow.
Oh.
This is what happens when you go out and have fun. Question, okay, so, the board, do you have strategic goals, plans? Do you have one set up?
The COA board itself?
Yes.
We do not have, quote, a strategic plan, but we have goals,
Okay.
and we review them every year.
Okay.
At usually, actually, the first meeting in August that's coming up. Our annual meeting is in June, and we have not met in July for a few years. And generally, in August, we review our goals and et cetera, but it's not a strategic plan per se.
That usually helps when your annual reports too, is when you can list that. So, and have you met all your goals so far in your last few years or whatever? I mean.
We've done pretty good, I'd say. Our two priorities are housing, lack of affordable housing in town, and space.
But you do have senior housing here in town, right? I've seen your.
We have some, yes, but there is a need. It's hard for, people to stay in Littleton and downsize, so
Yeah.
that's the critical point. It's the downsizing area that needs attention.
Okay. And have you worked with the state at all, housing board?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and the planning board is quite aware and has worked and developed some interesting initiatives, and actually there is a affordable housing trust fund that has been set up that, in conjunction with the planning board, led the lead on that. And we have a board member, Maureen, actually, the gal that's on Zoom, is our representative on it, on the Affordable Housing Trust from the COA board.
Okay.
So, we have, we're connected. But it's a process, it takes time. It's a slow process for the affordable housing piece. It's not gonna happen overnight. And neither is new space, gonna happen overnight, but,
Right.
it's just progression, as you alluded to.
Now, do you have areas earmarked for affordable housing in Littleton, anywhere?
How do you answer that one? We have some developers that have put in a couple of affordable units within their new developments. That's
Yeah.
part of the planning board's, requirements. Thank you, that's the word I was looking for, yes. But, it's a beginning. Essentially, we're in the beginning stages of that.
Okay.
But at least it's out there, and it's, beginning.
No. And that is priority, affordable housing, being able to stay in a house or to age in place. I think, if anything this COVID has done is, really red flagged, some of the problems with nursing homes, and, which makes it even more important for people that want to age in place, stay in place, or be able to afford to stay in place. How do you do that, to avoid the nursing home scenario. So having opportunities or services like affordable housing or a center to keep them active and have services available that they could be in place and get help at home still, that's a priority, especially with people living 20, 30, 40 years longer than ever anticipated, so, you know. So where did your previous director go? And why did she leave?
She left because she has 2 small children. Let's see, 1.5 or 2 and 4 roughly. Anyway, very young.
Yeah.
And she was able to obtain a position 3 miles from her home.
Okay.
And with not taking a pay cut, except, you know, all the other things that you take into consideration.
Right.
And certainly, we were not happy to see her leave, but we understood why she left.
And how long was she here for?
2.5 years, something like that, yeah.
2.5?
Before-
That's not
yeah.
very long. Well, the director before that, how long was she here for?
Oh. I don't even remember.
That was Pam.
Pam was maybe 4 years? I don't remember exactly. I would say it was
I think I met Pam, yes. I think I met
Did
her at
you
one
meet-
of the conferences or something.
Pamela
Yes.
Campbell, what's her
Yes,
name?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yes, and she was here for, I think it was about 4 or 5 years.
Quite a time.
And she's, you know, gone on and she's been teaching at, I haven't talked to her myself recently, but she was teaching at BU, and she owns a farm herself, and that takes up a lot of her time. So,
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
That she talked about the farm, yeah.
yeah, she has horses and
That takes up a lot of time.
animals to take
Yes.
care of.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Takes up a lot of time. Okay.
Other questions for us?
I have no more questions for
No
you.
more questions for
No.
us. Oh, my goodness, okay. So Nina, I guess you can.
Yes, I'm gonna try to do this a little bit better than the last time. It starts off easy, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about our next steps.
Okay.
It starts off pretty straightforward, but then it gets a little bit challenging because we may be trying to do something a little with a limited time frame. So the COA board is interviewing their candidates. You're actually the second candidate of the day and the final candidate of the day today. And after you leave, the board will be deliberating on which candidate they would like to move forward. They anticipate making a recommendation today, and our office will call both yourself and the other candidate by no later than noon tomorrow to advise on next steps. It may be sooner.
Okay.
Now, this is the part that gets a little bit challenging. The select board, who needs to approve the appointment
Yes.
by myself as town administrator, is gonna be meeting this coming Monday, June 29th. They will also be meeting, their next meeting after that would be July 13th. So it would be between one of those 2 dates in which they would be able to consider a recommendation for confirmation on an appointment.
Okay.
In either scenario, would you be available to attend their meeting on Monday, June 29th, or Monday, July 13th in the evening?
Right now, the 13th, I know, definitely can. The 29th, I could probably, I just have to rearrange something. so.
And that would be Zoom, right?
For the coming meeting on June 29th,
Yeah.
we expect and are planning to post for a meeting that is virtual over Zoom, as Dave has
Okay.
mentioned. There is uncertainty as to whether the July, I was almost there, I almost had it all right.
Mhm.
Whether the July 13th meeting will be in person or if it will be via
Okay.
Zoom.
Okay. Understood? Yes.
Thank you for your flexibility.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. You sure you have no other questions for us?
No?
Okay, then I think we can just, and you've already been with Ann.
Yes, she has given me the grand tour.
All right.
as I was saying, I started off in the warehouse, an industrial warehouse, you know, so we had one big room, one little room for my office, and this is so much better than that was, so it's like, yeah. But I mean, the whole, it's typical in New England. Schools were taken over by the town buildings, the town offices, because the schools got outgrown and towns took over, so, yeah. You have some very interesting spaces in these old buildings, very interesting, so.
Yeah.
They've been trying to get a senior center for like 20 years, but over the last, say, 3 years, they've really stepped up.
Mhm.
The Friends of the COA, and the town is beginning to coalesce into, okay, here we need a senior center, okay? But there's a lot of wheels turning. We're building a new library.
Yes, she's doing, yeah.
So down the end of the building, the library is now, all right? There are 3 floors at the end of the building. They're gonna be leaving next year after the new library is built. So that's gonna open up that whole thing, which has to be decided on how to use it. Okay, so it's a possibility, you know, just as a scenario, there's a possibility that maybe COA could go in there as a temporary thing while you try to build a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but there's just too many wheels and gears turning to try and figure any of it out now, except there's something in progress.
Yeah, so the great tsunami, it's, people have to stand up and take notice. It's like, your population is gonna be, largely older adults who still wanna be very active and still be part of the community. How do you keep them healthy? So yes, you have to take notice and you have to accommodate them in some way. So, it's standard, you know, these days, it's standard, so.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Lisa.
It was my pleasure. I was absolutely thrilled to see that you're actually all in person. So
I know.
thank you for setting this up and the Board of Selectmen for allowing this too.
I
So
know.
appreciate
We're
it.
very grateful that
Yes.
we have been able to do it. It makes a huge difference.
It does.
Yeah, it really does, so.
For sure.
And did you come in this door right here?
I came in, I think the main door.
Oh,
This one parallels that, so your car's
yeah,
probably.
you should be right out this way.
Here, so,
Yeah, you can go right out here.
yes, so.
Look at David being the gentleman that he
Well.
is, see.
Chivalry never dies, right?
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
so
you.
much.
And it was nice having you here.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Okay, oops. Guess we don't turn off anything. Nope.
So
Maureen is still
do we stay
there?
on or off?
Yep, oh, she is, I see her up there, yep, she's there, okay.
Deliberations off.
No, well, the board certainly has a choice if the board would like to deliberate live on air, or if the board would prefer to deliberate only recorded, or if the board would even further prefer to deliberate.
We have to have, it is an open
You
meeting.
have to allow some participation, so.
Well, we don't have to gain, we've not ever had discussion
Yes.
with outsiders.
Right.
The board needs to come to the vote.
Right.
And it is an open meeting though, and we cannot go into executive session to do that either. So, yeah, so we need to proceed with our discussion if we have a lot of discussion or whatever. And I was thinking about it and I thought maybe it would be best to just ask the board members and Maureen, so I don't forget her that she's there, so, which I think I
Live all the way
did.
through then, right?
You know, had a little problem in the beginning there. So, but maybe I was thinking maybe the best way is to, if anybody has any questions about either candidate that they would like to raise, or you may have suggestions about how you want to approach this too, to help us stay organized. And I'm open to those suggestions. But I think, you know, we need to toss around our, if there's no questions at all and no discussion, we can just move to, I can, you know, just take a simple little vote and say each one of them and see who comes out ahead, but if you don't choose to make discuss things at all, so.
Well, I was sort of wondering if the 3 board members who were not part of the original Zoom meetings had.
Search committee, yeah.
Part of the search committee, had either questions for us or
Well, that's a good point.
You know, because I think our heads are pretty full, and maybe they have questions for us, or maybe not. Maybe
Well,
it, you know.
It was interesting, I think, too, because, for us, in thinking about questions for today, we knew, what questions had been asked previously, too, so that you didn't want to be redundant with a candidate, but we were trying to incorporate your concerns, and we did pretty good, I think, in the questions today, of all the concerns that were raised by board members. So, I'll kick it off, Go ahead, David.
Well, I guess I would just throw this out. Has anybody decided right now, without saying anything, who they would prefer to have? Has everybody come to a decision within their own mind who they like?
Could you put your hand away from your mouth and a little louder?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. No, has everybody have in their own mind who they would choose right now, without saying?
That's a
Don't
good
say.
question. Without saying who that is.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good question. If
Well,
people are at least comfortable
I'll-
enough about
I'll-
answering that question. I can answer it, I think.
Me too. I can answer it.
Yep, so, okay. Are the people comfortable answering the question? Do you have questions that might help you sort things out? I think that's what David's leading to. Or have you already made up your mind kind of who you would prefer?
I was just asking that,
I know you are, yeah.
okay?
And that's a good way of thinking about it, I think.
Well,
Okay. You want me to, I'll kick it off and answer the question. I think I know who I prefer,
okay.
so. It doesn't mean that anybody else has to feel that way.
All right, I think I have an idea who I prefer.
Oh,
I
I
will
know
make-
who I prefer, but I saw
I do as well.
pros with both candidates. So it might be good. I don't want to prolong anything if everybody
No.
has it, but it might be good to give the pros and cons or whatever of each person.
Okay? Yes, Patty?
Well, having been on the
Search committee.
search committee, I was gonna call it the steering committee, the search committee, and listened to them for 2 interviews. I was anxious to see them in person. And it does make a difference, I will tell you that. As to answering the questions, I have the same feeling I had from both interviews. Some of the questions they answered, both of them, in the interviews, and some questions they didn't answer in the interview, and they both did that today. It was the same with the interviews, Zooming as it was here, and I annotated that on my paper. And my comment will be the same as I made when we were discussing the candidates. That one candidate, I think, has a better ability to deal with when they didn't answer the question, knows how to go about getting the answer more than the other one. And that was my selling point on who I think I would choose. And that's why I'm the one, for the other board members, pushed for a face-to-face interview, as well as seeing the demeanor of the person and meeting the person. You know, Zooming from here up, you don't see body language, you don't see facial expressions, and you don't hear well, and I don't hear well anyway. But the interview in person solidified for me who I would choose. Even though both of them didn't answer all the questions to what I thought should have been answered. But one of them did better than the other in saying, well, I would do this, which was an appropriate answer. And that makes the difference, which tells me, oh, There's a learning curve here. But I know it can be accomplished. So from my perspective, which I would hope would help somebody who wasn't involved in the interviews, would tell you that I learned something from having this interview.
Maureen, does Maureen have a comment? Is she? I don't want to ignore her, Joe. Help me out here, so I'm really feeling like I have not. Oh, she's there still.
There she is.
Yeah, I'm here.
You're here, there?
Yes.
I feel so badly because I kind of kept forgetting you're there, Maureen. My apologies.
That's okay.
Would you like to make some comments?
Well, I thought it was very interesting. They both seem to be really focused on communication and public outreach. One personality was a little bit different than the other. But I thought that they both had some really good points about ways that they could reach out to the community, which I think is important.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
David, you have your hand up, or is that just,
No,
no, you just there, okay. Anyone else, comments? Andy, you talked about having the pros and cons of, and so,
Well, and I don't know that those are the words.
The right words,
The
yeah.
right words.
okay,
You know, there was a definite feeling with each of them.
that is true, and I think that's why, these two candidates came before us. I think that's a fair statement, because I think they were, the two that we thought had the most potential.
Yeah.
So then the question becomes, which would we see as having the edge over the other? So it is a hard decision, basically, because they both have good qualifications. I personally felt that Ashley was a little bit more organized in her responses and more thorough, and gave a lot more information in her responses than, unfortunately, than Lisa did. Thank you. So, and that made a difference for me. And her overall demeanor and bubbliness and energy, she says she's high energy, and I believe her. I do believe that. So,
Marge,
yes?
I also liked that she took notes.
Uh-huh.
She wrote things down. She was very organized, and I thought that was really good.
Yes, she did that throughout all of, I think, she listens, and then she writes a note to herself so she can answer the question thoroughly, pretty fit most of the time.
What impressed me also about Ashley was she was able to sit there and say what I said at an interview as well as Marge. That's reflection.
That's right.
That's telling you that somebody is thinking. And if you're going to be director of COA, you want somebody who thinks like that. She's not going to forget.
No, she impressed me with that, too.
And then, she thinking, well, yes, numbers are important, but so is the value of the program and the person participating in it. That's a very profound statement to
That's
me.
an important statement.
And I thought, that's really good. That impressed me about that.
What impressed me was when she was asked about EHS, and she took a few minutes and didn't answer.
Yes.
And then she finally said, I'll be honest, I have no experience. And honesty is really important.
You mean about the
That makes,
addiction thing?
no, about the working
Human
with the
services.
EHS.
Oh, yeah.
The human services piece.
Human services, she took time and didn't answer right away.
Correct.
But when she did, she said, I don't have any experience.
And in Wellesley,
And that book she had in her hand that she said she would refer to, that was put together by Amy.
No, that was put together, well, she helped us finish it. It was put together by the Awareness Subcommittee, Maureen,
Okay.
right, Maureen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, the Awareness Subcommittee, and Maureen was chair of that. It's not active at this moment, the subcommittee, but that reference book and the resource book was actually Mary Picard's idea, and
Well,
yeah,
that
that's how
whole-
it came to be.
That whole book, we had a meeting with St. Vincent de Paul and Amy. She brought the book.
Yep.
And she referred to it on question number 6. And that, Amy and I, and Nicole and I have used over and over, just in that scenario.
Yep.
So that was good that she picked up. I was impressed by that.
She seemed to have gotten a lot of information out of her brief tour. It seems to me, around the building, really, and she
She
tied it into her question.
She did her research, and when the question about the young woman with the 2 children and no place to go and nothing to eat, she works in Wellesley. You're not gonna have that in Wellesley.
No, probably not.
But she did say she'd refer to resources. I mean, she knew what she had to do.
Right.
Right.
At least if she couldn't do it right there, she knew where to call.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I wrote down, if you, just watching her sit there, she's energetic, she's a team player. I gotta get all the department heads together. We gotta have a meeting. She has ideas, and she's not afraid to speak. And she's smiling, she's bubbly, she's got a sense of humor. We need this here. She was my vote after today. I mean, she was up there, but she's really there now.
Other discussion, comments, board members?
The only thing I was gonna say is, I think that Lisa had, with her experience of going through, of trying to get a senior center,
Yeah.
she has that experience
Yeah.
to know, and not to take anything away from her, I think that Ashley has the go-get-it-ness, that she would do it, she would learn quickly the things that she has to do to get there.
And I must say, excuse me, and I think the rest of the search committee could verify this if maybe I'm inaccurate, but I think I'm accurate in saying that Ashley did speak about her experiences when she started in Wellesley, they were transitioning into their new community center. And I don't know if you remember, but she talked about that and the experiences of transitioning and there were problems. They had problems with people wanting to take control of that whole place and everything, and that came out in one of our interviews with her.
Yeah.
So I feel pretty confident, and given her discussion, Ashley's comments about, okay, you gotta know this and you gotta know that and everything else, she knows. Once she gets the information about where we are, the facts, she'll know where to go with it, I'm almost sure. She talked about researching, well, in her computer, I'm sure, are all the diagrams and the floor plans that we got, and we've already stored away there. I'm sure they haven't been deleted, hopefully not, and things of that nature. So, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with the fact that she, I think, could handle that whole senior center issue as we move along, and she realizes where we totally are in it.
I also liked Marge.
Yep.
I also like the fact that she was very clear about she'd reach out to other community centers and find out how they did things and what worked for them and what didn't. So she's not going to be trying to reinvent the wheel.
Right. Anyone else? Yes, go ahead.
I'll just jump in with sort of things I noticed too, like Patty did. I think for both of them, in different areas, however, they both are going to have a learning curve in the job. I mean, that's obvious. And, but I think Ashley definitely has the passion to really go out and learn what she needs to learn. And one of the examples of that was during the search committee, one of the questions in the second round was, what were takeaways from your first interview That was the question to the candidate. And Ashley had this amazing list of things that we had asked questions about that she realized she didn't really know that much about. And she had gone and researched those. And she gave us the whole big, the whole list of things, especially some of the things about town government. Ashley didn't feel she knew town government ways as that well. But I definitely feel she's got the passion, and she's talked so much about doing research and this to learn how to do things. And just seems to me a much better fit in many ways.
I can see the fit.
Yeah,
That when you
that's
talk
how
about
I-
having the fit, I can just see her relating to staff and other department heads and town employees. She's
A
just
better
very approachable.
And she also asked us about our friends,
Yes.
what our friends do.
Yep.
And how involved they are.
Yep.
So she was concerned and wanted to know, what they did for us.
No, there's definitely going to be a learning curve for either
Oh,
candidate.
yes.
But you're right, and and that's to be expected. I don't think it's going to be as great for either one of them who has never had any community government experience, town government experience, because they both have had some.
Right.
And in different ways, but yeah.
Can we ask Nicole or Amy what they thought about the interviews? Are we allowed to do that?
I don't. Can we do that?
If the board wishes to, you certainly can.
Are they still there?
Yep.
Well, I don't know if you choose to do that. It is a board vote, but if they have, we welcome their input if they have input. So,
Yeah, I think that's important to hear how they feel.
and I wanted to make sure that Amy, I didn't want to not compliment Amy because she did a lot of work to help get that
Booklet done.
booklet finished.
Yeah, she did.
The beginning steps had been done by the committee, and then it was hard work to get it finalized, and if it hadn't been for Amy, it wouldn't have happened, so. I realize that. Are they there, Amy and Nicole, Joe, and?
Let's see, Nicole just,
I'm here.
Okay, there's a one. Would you like to offer any comments, Nicole? Or I don't know if you feel comfortable doing that or not. We're still on camera, so
So this is still recorded.
yes.
I liked both. I thought they were both really good. I thought, I liked, I can't remember which one of you said it, but I liked the way that Ashley, referred back to the guide that Amy had put together. Seemed like she did a lot of research in a short amount of time, from the tour to the interview. It seemed like she took a lot away from it. I was impressed by that. I liked her.
I didn't hear what you said.
Can you not hear me?
I lost a little of.
Let's try that again.
Oh boy.
I don't think it's, we just didn't have the video up. I think we should be, perhaps now.
There, now.
A couple of it got muffled, a few words and here and there.
I was just saying, I think that she took a lot away from the tour in a short amount of time between the tour and the interview. It seemed like with the referring to the community guide and the space we have, I was impressed with what she knew in such a short amount of time. Seemed like she did a lot of research on the senior center. I liked what she had to say about working with other departments, working with Park and Rec and the library.
I did too.
I was impressed
Yeah.
by that.
That caught me off guard, the comments about Park and Rec, she noticed was right, yes, I thought, that's really, pays attention to details.
It's nice because we do work with them, so
Yes,
it's not. That was nice. I thought. I liked her. I was impressed. I thought they were both nice, and I thought they both did a good job. I liked that Ashley seemed like she did a lot of research. It seemed like she knew what she was talking about, and she
she was careful with her answers and took the time to answer. Marge, I think I mentioned to you before, it says a lot about a person the way they answer a question they don't know the answer to. And I appreciated when she said, I don't know.
Yeah. I do too, I did too. So, and that's not easy to admit.
No,
As
you're
she's
not in an interview in front of all these people.
Well, and quite frankly, she was very open about many things, about being intimidated and the whole thing. And to me, that speaks a lot about her confidence and maturity and everything.
I agree.
But not to take away from Lisa, because obviously Lisa is a very, experienced person involved with ACOA, but not, and both candidates have not had a lot of experience with the human services piece of things, so, and that's, but at least they're aware that that is something they have to, but, yeah.
Well, I make a motion that we take a vote on one of the candidates to submit to the select board.
Okay, I wrote down a motion. So,
You want to do that? Or Patty wanted to
you
make a motion to vote.
you proposed a motion that we take a vote.
Yes.
And did you want to, okay, so you want to move us on to taking a vote, and any discussion on that? We have a motion to take a vote, but not specifics yet.
Has it been seconded?
Seconded?
Okay.
Has it been seconded?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you,
There was a
Maureen.
question. I think Maureen's was a question.
Is it a question, Maureen?
Ann Lee seconded.
I said second.
Maureen?
I was just asking if the motion had been seconded.
Okay, yes, Ann Lee seconded it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for asking that question, though. So Sue knows. So,
Marge, I am going to recommend roll call because we do have one virtual member.
I think it would be easier, too. Thank you, that's a good idea. Okay, we have a motion on the floor that has been seconded to move to taking a vote regarding the recommendation that we will be making to the town administrator. Okay, I will do a roll call vote, though, so just, as usual, just say David, whatever your name, and whether you vote yes or no.
Yes or no, no.
To a vote.
To a vote,
Take a vote.
Oh, okay.
but not of a person.
But
Not of a person, we're just getting ourselves to take a
Okay.
vote, and no more discussion. Actually, so,
We're closing discussion. is
All
what I
right,
think we're
David.
doing.
David still votes yes to take a vote.
Ann
Ann Lee, yes.
Ann Lee votes yes. Susan?
Susan, yes.
Susan is yes. Marge is yes.
Patty, yes.
Anita, yes.
And Maureen?
Yes.
It is unanimous that we will now take a vote. And so, I will entertain a motion in that regard. Do you want it to be, you're going to make a motion on a specific person, and then we can just take the vote and decide with
Okay,
how we go after that?
all right.
Okay?
I move that the COA board recommend to the town administrator the hiring of Ashley Shaheen to fill the vacant EHS director position.
Second.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Maureen and Anita, both seconded. It was a tie. So, all right, we'll do another roll call vote. So we are specific. David?
David still votes yes
Ann Lee?
for Ashley.
For Ashley, okay?
Ann Lee Ellis, yes for Ashley.
Susan, thank you. Ann Lee is yes for Ella.
Susan Melander, yes for Ashley.
Susan is a yes also. Marge Payne is a yes for Ashley.
Patty Hunt is a yes for Ashley.
Patty Hunt is a yes for Ashley. Anita?
Anita Harding is a yes for Ashley.
Anita is a yes for Ashley. Maureen?
Maureen Donnelly is a yes for Ashley.
Oh my, we have a unanimous vote here. All right.
All right.
That was quick and easy, it seems. I think so. Wow, I'm amazed. It's only I didn't think I'd be home until like 6:30 or something tonight. Look at the time. It's only like 5:15. So, wow. And I'm almost sad to see this almost end.
Oh, I'm sure.
Almost. Sad. Happy, I think, happy. Yes, I'm sorry.
I move that we adjourn.
All right.
Any other business first?
I do not believe there is any other business to
I'm
come
sorry.
before the board, but,
Sorry.
and I think we have accomplished our mission of interviewing 3 different individuals today, and the town administrator is here and so knows the results of our vote, and I will let Diane Dickerson know the results for the town board positions, just to review with her also our previous voting in on June 8th, because we have more than one position that has to be reappointed or appointed, so. All right, I have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Oh,
Megan,
There was a second.
Seconded, okay, by Maureen.
There was a,
Patty had a
And
question.
you had a question before? I'm sorry,
no, I
Patty.
was going to make a comment.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
Oh,
We can have a
I wanted to thank Nina and Joe for assisting in this whole process with
please, yes.
Susan, Marge, and myself, and bearing with me, pushing to have this interview process, because I think it was very beneficial, and I appreciate taking
Definitely.
the effort to do this. I
While
think-
we're thanking people, we also appreciate all the work Ann Essman did
Oh,
through
yes.
this process,
Oh.
because she really carried the water through the screening process, and appreciate LCTV's flexibility in accommodating us today. And you guys did a tremendous job, so you should be proud of yourselves.
It was, no, it's been a
Appreciate it.
real team effort, and it's really such a pleasure. It really is, so. I was totally lost for the last week with this whole setup for today. So, I'm very grateful for all the help I've had. I can't even thank everybody, I'm sure, but
It made
yes.
such a difference, though.
It did make a big
It
difference.
makes a difference to be
Yes.
live and see the people. It really
Yeah.
does.
So,
Marge, are we taking a vote?
we are taking a vote to adjourn. Yes, we finally are. Thank you, Maureen. I don't know what I'd do without her. Okay, we have a motion on,
David Silver votes yes to adjourn.
all right, Ann Lee,
Yes.
Susan.
Susan, yes.
Susan votes yes to adjourn. Marge votes yes to adjourn.
Patty, yes.
Anita.
Anita, yes.
Maureen?
Warren, yes.
Hey, thank you. We are adjourned, and I will
See you, Maureen.
Congratulations, everybody.
See you later.